With this one, we have a group of pupils choose to either do tennis or badminton. There are 10 more girls than boys in the group. 30 girls choose tennis in total, which has been added already. 3/4 of the boys choose tennis. 2/3 of the pupils who chose tennis chose badminton were girls. Do you think there'd be a hard circles question? There's always going to be a circles question. It's normally not that hard, but people will find it hard because they don't know the circle theorems, if that makes sense. Like, it's not particularly hard for a circle question, but circle questions are kind of hard. So complete the frequency tree. So if you notice, they haven't actually given us any numbers for the number of boys and girls. So what I'm going to do is, because it says there are 10 more girls than boys, I'm going to say that boys is just equal to X, because I don't know what it is, and girls is just equal to X plus 10. And I'm going to fill in all of the other information that we have so far. So if we look here, 3/4 of the boys choose tennis, so we know that 3/4 of X choose tennis, which means 1/4 must choose badminton. And don't forget, we can't actually fill it in with algebra. We are going to need actual numbers, but we just don't know what those numbers are going to be yet because we don't know what X is. And then it says, if there are X plus 10 girls and 30 of them choose tennis, then I have to subtract 30, which should give me X minus 20. Now, the reason why I've done this, and I haven't filled in the rest just yet, is because it says 2/3 of the pupils who chose badminton were girls. Okay? So if we add up all the people that do badminton, we get 1/4 X plus X minus 20. Okay? So 1/4 plus X would be 5/4X minus 20. And it says 2/3 of those pupils, so 2/3 of this, were girls. So X minus 20, the number of girls doing badminton, is equal to 2/3 of 5/4X minus 20. Does that make sense? So again, stop me the second you're not sure. So it says here, 2/3 of the pupils who chose badminton were girls. So we know that X minus 20 is the badminton girls. And that's equal to 2/3 of the total people choosing badminton. So we added those two circles together. So let's expand it out. We get X minus 20 equals 2/3 times 5/4. That'd be 2 times 5, which is 10. 3 times 4, which is 12. X minus 40/3. Move the x's to one side, so I'm going to move this x to the other side. So that's minusing 10/12x. So that should be 2/12x minus 20 even, equals minus 40/3. Add 20 to both sides. We get 2/12 cancels to 1/6, so we get 1/6 of x equals minus 40/3 plus 20, which, if we do it in terms of fractions, which we have to do, that's going to be 1/6 of x equals, so minus 40 plus 60 would give me 20/3. So times both sides by 6, and what do we get? Well, we should get x is equal to 40. Okay? So hopefully that is okay so far. We have x equals 40. So if x equals 40, now we can work some stuff out. That means we have 40 boys in total, and 3/4 of them, so 3/4 of 40 will be 30. So here we have 30. Here we have 10. And 40 minus 20 would give me 20. Which means there are also 50 girls, because it's x plus 10. And add those together and we get 90 people in total. Okay, so 4 marks. It's a pretty interesting question. Good afternoon, Jackie. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense, okay? So a very tricky question is probably one of the more tricky frequency tree diagrams that you can get. So while this is a foundation topic, which means it could technically appear on a foundation paper, it is definitely one of the higher grade ones. Okay? So, okay, let's go on to the next one. This is a ratios question, obviously. So there are X men at a meeting when it begins, and the ratio of men to women at the beginning of the meeting is 5 to 4. 8 people leave the meeting. Not all of the people who leave are women. And the ratio of men to women is now 1 to 1. So what this means, this line here, it means there are equal men and women. Right? That's what that means. So, how can this happen? Right? So this guy, Wakar, says, the number of men that left the meeting must be 1, 2, or 3. Explain why he's correct, right? Now, 8 people leave in total, right? From the first ratio, from this first line, we can see that there are more women than men. So, for them to now be equal, more women have to leave than men. Okay? So if we think about that logically, well, that's the answer, right? Because more women need to leave than men. So think about it. That means only 1, 2, or 3 men can leave, right? Because if 1 man leaves, then that means 7 women will. If 2 men leaves, that means 6 women will. 3 men leaves, that means 5 women will. We can't do 4 because then that would keep the ratio the same, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. For the next part, this is where things get a bit more interesting. I hope that first part makes sense. If it doesn't, then do let me know. But for the next part, it says, work out the largest possible number of people at the meeting when it begins. Well, if we look at this, we have 5 to 4 at the beginning, which if I add that together means we have 9 parts. So in other words, we have 9 people in total. Now what we can do is we can keep kind of timesing it up so that we can get the number of people. But keep in mind that because there's 9 parts, it means that the number of people have to be a multiple of 9. Okay? Hey Imrana, how are you? So, the next biggest multiple is if we times it kind of by 2, right? So the next biggest multiple is 18 people. And to get that, we'd times them both by 2, which gives us 10 to 8. Right? Now, what's going to restrict the number of people is this. 1, 2, or 3 men must leave. Okay? I'm good, thank you. So in this case, to make the men and women equal, right, we could lose 3 men. So I should probably write that this is women to men. Right? We need the numbers to be equal. Well, 3 men could leave and 5 women could leave, and then it'd be 1 to 1. With this one, 2 men could leave and 4 women could leave, and it would be equal. With the next one, which is 27, so again, we're going to times this first one by 3. We get 15 to 12. With this one, there is no number of men and women that could leave to make those numbers equal if only 8 people left the meeting. Okay? So just to reword that, there's no combination of people that could leave that would make these two numbers equal if only 8 people have left. So the largest possible number of people is 18 people. Okay? So I hope that's okay. So yeah, we did this question earlier where we had this kind of interesting frequency tree question here where they didn't give us the total number of people or anything, and we just had to kind of work out like how many people there are in total and then work that all out. So you can kind of go back in the live stream if you want to have a look at that question. This question was a very interesting ratios question. Are there any questions so far at all, or is that all okay? Hopefully that's all alright. Perfect. Okay. Now we have a functions question, so functions are quite fun. Given that for all values of x, f of x is equal to 3x plus p, g of x is equal to px plus 4, and fg of x equal to 6x plus q. You do the on maths predicted paper. If you send the link, I can. If you send the link, I'll definitely do that. Just put it in the... Actually, you can't put it in the chat. You'll have to send it to my email. So YouTube doesn't allow people other than me to put kind of links in it. So if you email it to me, then I'll definitely just let me know when you've done that, and I'll do the paper after these two. We've only got 2 more submitted questions, so it should be fairly quick. So with functions, you kind of just have to remember the notation, okay? So fg of x equal to 6x plus q. So where do I start? Well, where I start is I need to work out what fg of x is. Now, what does fg of x actually mean? Well, what it means is you take the function g of x and you sub it in to x in the function f. So fg of x is just going to equal to 3, and then where I see x, I'm going to write all of g of x. So px plus 4 plus p, and that should equal 6x plus q. Okay? So let's expand those brackets. We get 3px plus 12 plus p equals 6x plus q. Now, perfect, Madhu. Nice to have you. So, this is our equation that we have at the end. Okay? Now, there's nothing more that they give us, and there's nothing more we can do. So, here's where I'm going to show you a trick that I've done in the vectors kind of grade 9 video, and also in vectors questions previously. Because of algebra, right? Thank you very much, Evie. I appreciate that. It happened really suddenly and very quickly. Everything in front of x on the left-hand side should equal everything in front of x on the right-hand side, right? Because I gather like terms. So if I compare x really quickly, on the left-hand side we have 3p, and on the right-hand side we have 6. Okay? Oh, I see. Yeah, that's okay, Evie. Don't worry about it. But hopefully it makes sense now, and that's fine. So yeah. Hopefully this step makes sense. So 3px and 6x, those should be the same, because there's no other x's. Which means p is just equal to 2. Now if I sub that back into this equation, we have 3px, so we have 3 times 2x, plus 12, plus 2, equals 6x, plus q. So we get 6x plus 14 equals 6x plus q. The x's will cancel out because they're the same on both sides. So q is just equal to 14. Those are your 2 answers for this. Okay? Hopefully that's okay. Any questions at all? I'll give you a few seconds to have a think. Okay. Perfect. This question was also sent to me and is a probability question. This is the last one I've been sent, so we can do. I've got some other kind of OCR. Well, sorry, like super higher level kind of Cambridge questions that we can do. Right. You sent in a question just now. Oh no! I see. Yeah. Okay. So 2 bags A and B each contain only green and red marbles. There are 6 green and 4 red marbles. If I'm on a grade 6, do you think I can get a high 8 or possibly 9 in the coming weeks? So basically, as of this Friday, we have 2 weeks left until the exam, right? So we have 17 days. 17 days you can improve a lot. But keep in mind, even if paper 1 doesn't go that well, you can improve for paper 2 and 3. It's all about the average grade that you get, right? Okay, there's 6 green and 4 red in bag A, 8 green and 2 red in bag B. 1 is going to be taken out of A and put in B, and then a marble at random is going to be taken from B. What's the probability that it's a green marble? So there's 2 ways I can do this, right? The first way is I get a red marble from bag A and then a green marble from bag B. The other way I can do this is if I get a green marble from bag A and a green marble from bag B. Now if this is a bit confusing, right? If that is a bit confusing, there's another way we can look at this, which is using a tree diagram. So we can say bag A, bag B. Okay, I'm just going to respond to the questions now as well. So, where can I access this paper? So these are just submitted questions. However, I have got a paper that's coming up right after this question. I just wanted to do the submitted ones right away. Paper 1 is always low marks due to calculators. Honestly, people tend to find paper 2 a lot harder than paper 1. So if I do well in paper 1, how can I score? Yeah, so if you get a 7 in paper 1, but then you get like an 8 and a 9 in paper 2 and 3, your average is in grade 8. So then you will go up, right? Because you have more time to study for those. Okay, so if we do this, again, there are 2 ways to do this question. Let's say we have a red and a green. Probability of getting a red is going to be 4 out of 10. Whoa. 10. That's fair, crazy friend. I mean, if you did, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying what tends to happen. And then red and a green with bag B. You can send me another question if you want, Imrana. So, if I've taken a red out and put it into bag B, the numbers of reds in bag B have increased to 3, right? And that's out of a total of 11, which means the probability of not getting a red is going to be 8 out of 11. Likewise, if I pick up a green, the number of reds stays the same, so it's going to be 2, but we've added 1, so it's out of 11, and this would be 9 out of 11. So there are 2 ways to get a green, right? You can go up top and then down here, or you can go down here and down here. So either way, it's going to be 4 over 10 times 8 over 11 plus 6 over 10 times 9 out of 11. So that gives me 4 times 8 is 32 over 110 plus 6 times 9, which is... Wait, what do you mean? 54 over 110. So I was just reading the parts of the chat. 86 over 110. So wait. How can I massively improve my paper 2 and 3? Massively improve it. Honestly, all of maths is just about practice and exposure to questions. That's all it is. So just keep doing as many as humanly possible, but do different styles of questions. Something that I've noticed a lot of students do is they repeat topics that they're already kind of good at. Do stuff that you're getting 0 marks in. Matthew, I recommend using a good calculator and just cheating using the functions on it. No way you can do functions on the calculator. Yeah, so they're not saying to do functions on a calculator, but there are calculators that have functions that can help you. For example, you can do one that, the white one that I have, you know, the one that I put on the screen all the time, this one. This one can actually solve quadratics for you without using the quadratic formula, as an example, right? Anyways, that's the end of the submitted questions. Yeah, so just so you know, these are just submitted questions. This isn't a paper at all. Okay? So this isn't a paper whatsoever. These are just submitted questions people have sent me. But I do have these. The white calculator is allowed in exams. It's the A-level calculator. So you can 100% use it. Okay. So, this is also one of the kind of question papers I got sent in, and it is a huge number of questions. So we're not going to get through all of it, but it's some of the hardest questions that you can get on GCSE. Okay? So what I'll do is I'll put this in the Discord because it's a file, so the easiest place for me to kind of put it is going to be on the Discord. And if I find a question I'm really stuck on and I don't know what topic it is, what do I do? You have a few options. If you're really clueless on what topic it is, if you go to the examiner's report, they will tell you what topic each question is. The second thing you can do is if you are in the Discord, you can just ask the question there. Third thing you do is you can email me and ask me there as well. So those are the 3 things I'll do, or ask a teacher or someone like that. Okay. So yeah. I'll put this in the because I can't put files in the live stream chat. They won't let me. So what I'll do is I'll put it in the Discord. Link the Discord? Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second. that's the Discord. Basically, in there, I've already uploaded my predicted papers for 2023. So I made predicted papers for AQA and EdXL. At the moment, I've only uploaded paper 1, but all of those are there. And hello, Abby, as well. Sorry, I missed it. So we can go through some of these questions, for sure. It's very helpful, I'm glad. So, honestly, I'm not really sure where I want to start with these. A lot of these are really good questions. Are predicted papers even realistic? So, the predicted papers, like the grade 9 ones, they're not realistic. But the ones I've put in the Discord, they are genuinely what I believe the paper will look like. Okay? Koenig, didn't I do the question you sent me? Which one did you send me? Like, what's your name? Is it the Year 11 mock paper? Or what do you think is going to come up in paper 1? Off the top of my head, I think paper 1 is definitely going to have a circle theorem in it. At bare minimum. Hockey teams. Hockey teams? I don't remember getting one about hockey teams. Oh, yeah, no, I don't remember getting that, but I can do that. Give me 1 second. What we'll do is we'll do it at the top in the right hand of this. You're glad they got rid of multiple choice. Why? So can you quickly draw the exact trig values in the way you'd remember it? Okay. Okay, let's go through that. Okay, what I'll do is I'll go back to the other thing for now. Let's go through that. So, first of all, Koenig's question. And then we're going to go straight on to Crazy Friend's question, okay? So there are 16. I'm going to try and copy and paste this, but it's going to look hideous. Right? Actually, that's not too bad. And what I'll do is I'll do those trig values first. You need a way of remembering. Thank you, Abby. I really appreciate it. Yeah, the exact trig values. Okay, let's quickly do the trig values. Here's how I personally remember the exact trig values, okay? And I think I've gone through this before, but I can't quite remember. Anyways, so here it is. Here are the ones that you need to remember, right? You need to remember 0 degrees. You need to remember 30 degrees. You need to remember 45 degrees. You need to remember 60 degrees. And you need to remember 90 degrees, okay? I'm going to show you how to work these out really quickly, okay? So, what we're going to do is with sine theta, because why not, right? You're going to count up in ones, okay? So what I mean by that is we're going to start from 0 over 2, and what we're just going to do is add up 1 each time. Okay? Now this might not, I need to actually spread this out slightly. I'm going to spread this out ever so slightly. Now this probably doesn't look like the trig values, right? Not yet, anyways. But, work these out. What's the square root of 0? It's 0. Hello, Annabelle. How are you? So, sine 0 is 0. Right? Square root of 1 is just 1, so it's a half. Square root of 2 over 2, it stays the same. Square root of 3 over 2 stays the same. Square root of 4 over 2 is 2 over 2, which is 1. Okay? That's how I do it. Like this. Now, cos theta, all you do is you write this backwards. So you only need to remember sine. I'm going to show you a way where you only need to remember sine. That's the only one you have to... it's the only one you ever have to remember is sine, okay? So you write these backwards. You always divide it by 2. Except tan, okay? Tan is weird. Tan is different, okay? It's not just divide by 2. But here's... the only one you need to remember is sine, okay? So... there's no. You don't need to memorize other trig values. But here we are. So again, we've just counted, right? We've gone 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Worked it out from there. 0, half, root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2, 1. Cosine is just you write it backwards. So it's 1 root 3 over 2, root 2 over 2, 1 over 2, and 0. That's it. Okay? Now, here's how you do tan. Tan is just sine divided by cos. So all you're doing is dividing all of these values. Okay? So this is a bit tricky, but with practice it will become a lot easier, okay? So 0 divided by 1 gives me 0. Root 2 over 2 is not equal to 1. Root 2 is 1.414, and 2 is obviously 2. Root 3 over 2 divided by a half, I'm going to quickly show you how to do it the long way. Right? Keep flip change, it's root 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. So in other words, it's just root 3. Root 2 over 2 divided by root 2 over 2 is just 1, of course. Root 3 over 2 divided by 1/2, again, just becomes root 3. And anything divided by 0 is undefined. That's the way I do it. In fact, when I did my GCSEs, I literally wrote this table out on the front of my non-calculator paper. You're very welcome. I hope it is. Again, if you have a different method, go ahead, right? I'm not going to say this is the best method. The best method is whatever works for you, right? So some people remember it using triangles, right? Completely fine. Yeah. So yeah, crazy friend, I didn't like the triangle method myself. Okay. Now, yeah, I don't really like it myself. So let's do this question that's quickly sent in by Koenig. And then I'm going to do the one sent in by the other one. Who was it? Sorry. Imrana. And then I'll do the one sent in by Imrana straight away, okay? So, yeah, the vector question. I've received it. I'm just going to quickly do this one first, okay? So, there are 16 hockey teams in a league. Each team plays 2 matches against each of the other teams. Work out the total number of matches played. Okay. How much did you revise for your maths GCSE? If I am honest, I didn't revise as much as I should have. I didn't do that much, to be honest. Do you predict there'll be a vector problem? Oh, for sure. Always, always. Anyways, let's go through this one. So if there's 16 teams and each team plays 2 matches against every other team, right? All we have to do is think, if there are 16 teams, let's call them A, B, C, and D, right? I'm just going to list 4 teams, right? This is why I always do with total number questions, is I make the problem smaller and see what happens. So, team A can only play 3 other teams, right? And that's it. Team B can also only play 3 other teams. Team C can also play only 3 other teams, etc, 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 okay? So, in other words, all you're going to do is you take 16 and you times it by 16 minus 1. So 15. Okay? So wait, hang on. There will be a vector problem. Okay. So yeah, or 15 times 16 doesn't make a difference, right? And we'll work out whatever that is. So 16 times 15, 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 1 is 5, add the 1 is 80. 0, that'd be 6, that'd be 1. So that should be 240. Yeah? Hey Ego, how are you? Because a team can't play itself, right? But it says each team plays 2 matches against each of the other teams. So all we need to do is times that by 2, which gives us 480 total matches. That's how we do that. And then, yeah, I will do some geometric sequence questions. Okay. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, Koenig, you extend it to the other teams as well. Or factorial, yeah. Actually, it's not the same as factorial, yeah. It's, oh, sorry, I see what you mean, crazy friend, my bad. Bearings will come up, yeah. Okay. I'm Omar. What was your question? Because I have already done a few questions already. I've done all the ones I've been submitted already. So, here is the question, the next question that was submitted. I'm assuming that's all okay now. What do you mean by team can't play itself? Well, if you think about it, right? If we had, let's say, 4 teams instead of 16, because that's long, if they're playing a match, they can't play themselves, right? They have to only play other teams. And if you notice, that means there's going to be 1 fewer teams that they can play than the total number of teams. Which questions do you divide by 2 in product rule of counting? Good question. If this question said each team plays each other once, then you would divide by 2, okay? Because otherwise you'll double count. I'm going to upload it right after the live stream, Jackie. Right after that. Okay. When am I putting paper 2 and 3 in the Discord? As soon as I finish checking them, which hopefully should be soon. Okay, so let's start with this question. So, OA is 2A, cool. OB is 2B. And it says OP to PB is such that it's 2 to 1, okay. Perfect. And it's not 16 factorial. Hello S. Okay. Use a vector method to find OQ to QM. Ah, okay, perfect. So, first of all, I can say that OQ, that's not an O, OQ is going to be some fraction of OM, right? And because I don't know what that fraction is, I'm going to call it K. Alright? Because I have no idea what fraction it actually is. So, Mar, you can absolutely send a question if you want to, yeah. So now my goal is to find expressions for OQ and OM. Let's start with OM. How can I go from O to M? Well, can I make the image larger? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, I have OQ is equal to some fraction K of O to M. So I need to find expressions for OM and OQ. So let's start with OM. If I start with O to M, how could I go from O to M? Well, I could go from O to A and then A to M, right? So OA. For A level, would you recommend a tablet or a laptop? Yeah, you can do. It's useful to have all of your notes in one place, so a tablet would be fairly useful. Laptop, it depends. If you need to type notes, then sure, but if you're doing maths and things like that, you don't really need to type that much. You can get those laptops that change into tablets too. But yeah, cool. So, I already know what O to A is. O to A is just 2A. That's easy. But A to M, I don't actually have that vector. It's actually, so if I look here, M is the midpoint of AB. So A to M is going to be half A to B. Now all I need to do is find an expression for A to B. So we have 2A plus a half. Now how do I go from A to B? Well, if I rub off what I've done on here already, you would go from A to O and then O all the way down to B. Okay? And O to B is 2B, cool. So since we're going against this vector, we're going in the opposite direction, that's going to be a minus 2A. And we're going in the same direction as this one, so it's going to be plus 2B. So, in short, it's 2A minus A plus B. So in short, it's just going to be A plus B. That's what OM is. So I've got one part of my equation. Now all I need to do is find out what OQ is. Okay? So, it says, does it tell me anything about Q? Not really, which is completely fine. Okay, so now we need to find out how to get from O to Q. Now the best way to get from O to Q, in my opinion, would be going from O to P, right? If I rob off these two lines, it would be going from O to P and then P to Q. So O to P plus P to Q. Now if I write out O to P, the point OP is on this such that O to P to B, well that's really annoying to say, is 2 to 1. So in other words, it's 2/3 of OB, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Because again, it's a ratio of 2 to 1. So from here to here is 2/3 of the total length of the line, okay? Perfect. Isn't OB 3B? Apparently not. It says OB here is 2B. It does look like it though, Fred. I agree with you. And I did question that, but it does say O to B is 2B. So we just have to deal with that. Now it says P to Q. It doesn't actually say anything, right? You can send the question in chat if you want. Am I live every day? No, only Tuesdays. Normally I'm like recording videos and like, you know, wishing I was dead. I think we've done this question mark. Anyways, okay, so let's continue. Now to go from P to Q, it doesn't say, so that OQM is a straight line. Okay, perfect. So PQA is a straight line. So PQ is some fraction. So what we're going to do is use another letter. So let's say X PA. Right? X again is just some fraction because PQA is also a straight line. It's just cut off in the image. Okay? So we have 2/3 times 2B plus X. And how do I go from P to A? Well, to go from P to A, I go from P to O, and I go from O to A. So P to O would be minus 2/3 times 2B plus 2A. So that equals 4/3B plus X minus 4/3B plus 2A. Okay. This is 5 marks? I'm pretty sure it is. When it says vector method, does that include the use of Q or K? Yeah, pretty much. Like when I use K's or X's or whatever, that is a vector method. So we now have 2 equations that we can equal it. How do you know when to use a letter and when not to? That's a really, really good question. So if we think about where I've used letters, right? The first one is basically I use it whenever I don't know what fraction of a vector I want. So if I look here at OQ, can you see that it's some fraction of the total line OM? But because I don't know what fraction it is, I have to introduce a letter K, right? So it could be half, it could be a quarter, it could be 2/3, I don't know. I've done the same thing when I've tried to get to Q. I don't know where Q is along this line, so I have to introduce a letter. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense. So now I'm going to write out this original equation and I'm going to sub in my 2 values that I have. So I have 4/3B plus, and I'm going to expand these brackets as well just to make it a bit nicer. So I'm going to expand these brackets. So minus 4/3XB plus 2 times X, so that would just be 2XA, is equal to K times OM. And OM is just A plus B. So it's KA plus KB. This looks ugly, but now we're on the last stretch, okay? We're on the last possible bit. All we need to do now... Did I? Oh, I did. Well done. Yes, I did. I've got the X over here. Thank you. Thank you, Imrana. I mean, it was a test to make sure you guys are paying attention, of course. Right. Now, I'm going to use a method I actually used a bit earlier on. In fact, I can't remember if it was in a video I recorded or if I did it here now. But whatever. Everything in front of the B's on the left-hand side should equal everything in front of the B's on the right-hand side. Likewise, everything in front of the A's on the left-hand side should equal everything in front of the A's. So I'm going to compare this. This is something that we do a lot in A-level maths too. So everything in front of A on the left-hand side is 2x. And that equals everything in front of A on the right-hand side, which is k. So k is equal to 2x. Now, think about it for a second. Do I care about what x is? Not really. I care about what k is because k is the actual line I want. So I'm going to rearrange this so that x is equal to a half k. Then if I compare the b's, on the left-hand side we have 4 over 3 minus 4 over 3x. My email is, let me just send it in the chat again. And that equals k. That's exactly right, SK. That's exactly right. Now if I sub in that x is equal to a half k, I get 4 over 3 minus 4 over 3 times a half k equals k. Okay, let's expand this, make it a little nicer. We have 4 over 3 minus 4 over 6k equals k. I'm going to add 4 over 6k to both sides, which gives me 4 over 3 equals, so I've got k plus 4 over 6, which would be 10 over 6k. The reason why that is because we have 4 over 6 plus 1. So 4 over 6 plus 1. Turn it into a fraction, times top and bottom by 6. We get 4 over 6 plus 6 over 6, which gives me 10 over 6. Times both sides by 6. We get 4 times 6 is 24 over 3 equals 10k. So that's 8 is equal to 10k. Divide both sides by 10. 8 over 10 equals k. So that is actually 4 over 5 equals k. Whoops. So k is 4 over 5. Okay? I'll leave that on there for about 5 seconds. So, the a to 2x part. Ah, this bit here. Okay. So, if I explain that part again, this is like algebra, right? So if I collect the like terms, both sides should be equal, right? So the A's and B's are completely separate. So everything in front of A on the left-hand side equals everything in front of A on the right-hand side. So if I just look at A for a second, on the left-hand side, the only thing in front of A is the 2x, right? On the right-hand side, everything in front of A is just k. That's where 2x equals k comes from. Give me a second just to catch up. I see that the stream's a bit delayed. Okay. So yeah, k is equal to 4 over 5 here. So OQ, if I look at that, is 4/5 of the total length of the line, right? So what that means is that OQ is 4/5. That means QM is 1/5 of OM. So in other words, OQ is 4 times bigger than QM. So my ratio for OQ to QM is just going to be 4 to 1. Okay? because it's 4 times bigger. Okay. Bro, it's always 4 to 1. Well, I think it's because it's an easy fraction to work with. They don't want to give you something like 6 to 7 or something. That'd be horrendous. Okay, so brilliant question, SK. So that's a really good question. So if you have a look, what is being multiplied by k, right? Well, OM is the full line, right? So a point that's on that line will be some fraction of the total line. That's how I know that it's that's how I know that k is multiplying OM. The k always comes before the full line, the full length of the line. Okay? So in this case, the full line was OM. How did I get 1/5? Well, if OQ is equal to 4/5, right? Then the rest of the line should be Q to M. So in other words, it should be 1/5. Okay? So imagine you have literally a straight line. M, Q, O. If O to Q is 4/5 of the line, then Q to M must be 1/5 of the line. So will the grade boundaries be lower? It depends. The way they do grade boundaries is they do it after everyone's paper's been marked. That's how they work out grade boundaries. Okay. Anyways, the next question we're doing was the one Crazy Friend sent in because he was first. Thanks for your help for my year 10 mock exam paper I got. Wow. You're very welcome. I'm really glad that you got a good grade. I'm really glad. That's very heartwarming to hear. I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so we're going to do this question and then we're going to do Beauty or Beast's question. Yeah, so I'll save that to the side just so we can see what the order of the questions is. Statistics screws everyone over, don't worry. What's the Discord? I sent it earlier. Let me see if I can find it again. Okay, so this is the... Oh god, alright. Let's have a look at this. P is on the lines CD, such as 3/4. Yeah, that's fine. Find the vector OP. So I assume you want me to do the whole thing. So let's go through the whole thing. Find the vector O to P. Okay. So the way I do vectors... Okay, so Kiara, that's a really good question. Something that kind of scared me recently is... So because, like, obviously I'm a teacher and stuff. Yeah, Mar, your one is in a previous video. 100% we did that question. We could go through it again if I have time at the end. In fact, I think I did a separate video on it. I'm pretty sure I did a separate video on it as well. Yeah, no worries, Crazy Friend. So, yeah, the exam boards put emphasis on the fact that any topic can come up in any paper, right? So I don't know if they're going to try and mix up the order in this year's paper or not. Okay? So, for example, paper 3 in previous years tends to be the data and statistics paper, but they might mix it up this year because they explicitly said to us, you know, there is no set questions on each paper. Any topic can come up any time. But yeah, anyways, so O to P. What I do when I come across vector questions is I remember 2 basic rules. The first one is I have to go along vectors that I have. And the second one is if I go against a vector, I make it negative. So if I go from O to P, it's just like a game, right? All I need to do is go from O to C and then C to P, right? Again, treat it like a game. It's a very boring game, but it is a game. Now, do I know what O to C is? Well, if I go from O to C, I'm going along this vector, which is 4A. So it's 4A. And what about C to P? Well, I don't actually have C to P, right? But if I have a look at it, it's a fraction of CD, right? And what fraction is it? Well, it says it's on the ratio of 1 to 3, where CP is the smaller section. So it's going to be a quarter of CD. Because 1 over 3 plus 1. You're very welcome, Iobel. So now I have to ask, how do I go from C to D? Well, if I go from C to D, I can't go straight there because I have no vectors that go that way. So I have to go from C to O and then O to D. Now for C to O, I have to go in the opposite direction to 4A, so I make it negative 4A, and I go along 3B. So that should be 4A minus A plus 3/4 B. So in other words, it's going to be 3A plus 3/4 B for O to P. I assume that's what this says. If so, that looks like a 9. Interesting. Okay. For the next part, find the vector C to Q. Okay. So let's think about how we go from C to Q. That's a 9. And is that definitely the right answer? Oh, wait. Is this your answer or the mark scheme answer? Okay, no worries. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out like that. My bad. I thought that was like the marked answer or something. Anyways. So to go from C to Q, I need to go from C to P and then P to Q. Right? CP plus PQ. And the good thing is I already know what CP is. CP is just a quarter of CD, which I worked out is just this vector here. So it's just minus A plus 3/4 B. Cool. Now, I need to work out P to Q. So, okay, P to Q, if I have a look, is going to be, you got this part right, is going to be 2/5 of OQ. Okay. Make vectors seem so easy, but when I do it, I mess up completely. To be honest, I wasn't good at vectors until I started teaching. So, I don't blame you. Oh, thank you, Beauty or Beast. The best advice I can give you is to stay really calm and think like I'm thinking, right? Like it's a game. Okay? You're just trying to get from one place to the other. How do you do it? It's a bit of problem solving. But if you stay really calm and remember the few tricks that I've kind of sprinkled through this video and the other video, it will help. Okay? But it is very tricky, and I've noticed even maths teachers struggling with vectors. So don't worry too much about it. They're not easy. They seem easy because I'm being very calm when I do it. Okay, now O to Q. This is interesting. How can we do O to Q? Oh, I know. That's fine. If we look at this is a bit cheeky of me, by the way. O to P, it says here, is equal to 3/5 O to Q. So if I rearrange this is really cheeky. I can times both sides by 5. We have 5 OP equals 3 OQ. Which means OQ is just equal to 5/3 of OP. Which we conveniently worked out in the previous part. Cool. That's fun. Okay. I'm not sure how quickly I can do this, but if you are aware of cancelling, this 3 would cancel with this 3, meaning it's just 5a. But I'll do it fully just to make sure that everyone's on the same page as me. What are you trying to show with vectors that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram? Great question. All you're trying to do is show that the opposite sides are parallel to each other. That will be a parallelogram. Keep in mind that squares and rectangles are also parallelograms. So it's okay if it looks like a square or rectangle. Divide top and bottom by 3, that would give me 5/4. B. Cool. Sub this into this. Okay? And we get minus a plus 3/4 b plus 2/5 5a plus 5/4 b. Again, those 5's will cancel. In terms of vectors, it means that one... Okay. It means that the vectors on these two sides are going to be parallel, and the vectors on these two sides are going to be parallel. And what that means is you can write them as scale multiples of each other. Okay? So parallel vectors can be written in terms of each other. So you can factorize out something. So minus a plus 3/4 b. Again, the 5's will cancel, but just so everyone's on the same page, I'm going to do it the slightly longer way. Ten over 4. What am I doing? Jesus Christ. All right. That's fine. This one is 20. Oh, there we are. Minus a plus 3/4 b plus 10 over 5 is 2a. That's a half b. So your final answer should be a minus a plus 2a is just a. 3/4 b plus a half b. Well, a half is just 2 over 4, so that should be plus 5/4b. No, it shouldn't. Yeah, it should. Hey, Nithika. Wait, he live streams at the same time? I'm glad that you came to me in the last, 2 minutes. I appreciate that. Yeah. Maths is better than English. Amen to that. 5 over... Yeah, brilliant question, Samantha. So if I just lower this slightly... I thought this was a bit of a cheeky thing. But if you look in the question, it says OP is 3/5 of OQ, right? I can rearrange it, right? I can just rearrange that as if it's normal algebra. No worries, you need your injection, it's fine. Times both sides by 5. Just make sure you watch this back on repeat so I get that watch time, okay? Anyways, times both sides by 5. That's what I did. Because I can rearrange it as if it's like a normal algebra equation. Is that okay, Samantha? More like maths is harder than English. Debatable. I think it's easier to get some marks in English than it is to maths, but I'm not monetized, no. So although I have the 1,000 subscribers, you need 4,000 hours of watch time. Even though YouTube is putting adverts on my videos, I don't get paid from that. Which, I'm not salty about it. I'm completely fine. Of course. And then this one is sent in by Sarah, and it'll probably be the last video we do now. Have it on loop, no worries. Thanks, Nithika, I appreciate it. Ayan, you know that the right thing to do is to stay here. No, I'm kidding. Wait. Ma, I didn't see your question on Venn diagrams. Did you email it? Don't let YouTube scam... I mean, to be fair, I don't really have a choice. I don't have much of a choice in that regard. Oh, so it's two separate questions. Okay. So yeah, Mark, if you email it again, I didn't actually see it. Okay. So question 1, it's 4 marks. Jean invests £12,000 into an account paying compound interest for 2 years. I'm just going to space this out a bit to make my brain work properly. In the first year, the rate of interest is X%. And at the end of the first year, the value of Jean's investment was 12,336. In the second year, it's X over 2%. What is the value of Jean's investment at the end of 2 years? Okay, perfect. This is a good question. So, what we're going to do... Oh, give me a sec. Oh, I see. My bad, Ma. In Venn diagrams, when they ask you for probability, do you add the numbers in the circles out of the total amount? Yes. Yeah, it does depend on the question, but yes, I see what you mean. What about Omar's question? Omar. Wait, where's your question, Omar? Or is it just the fact that you said you got 96 out of 96 on your lip mark? I don't know how you managed that. That's really impressive. Okay, so, let's focus now. So in the first year, right? Are you sure you emailed me? I swear I didn't get one from you. That's the email address. Just double check it. Maybe I spelled it wrong. Anyways, so in the first year, the value ends up at 12,336, right? And it starts off at £12,000. So, the percentage change, which by the way is going to be the interest rate, is 12,336 minus 12,000 over 12,000. So it's more civilized? Yeah. That's because true patricians like us study maths. Plebs study English, okay? That's why. Thanks. Only true scholars study the mathematics, of course. Can we use simple interest? No, it does say compound interest. But if it's 1 year, compound and simple interest are the same. It's only compound when over multiple years. Have some beef with Mr. Nah. I actually quite like his videos, to be honest. 2.8%. And that's what equals... And besides, he's like massive compared to me. Jesus Christ. So X is 2.8% interest, okay? This guy's spamming poo. Oh, man. Okay, so for the second year... Okay, for the second year, our interest rate is X over 2. So that's 2.8 divided by 2. So we have a 1.4% interest rate. To be honest, neither of those guys taught English when I was in school. So I'm not too sure. The reason why I said I liked the Mr. English guy is I watched a couple of his videos because I had students recommend me to him. And I think that he kind of has good energy about it. I don't know. I can't really decide because I'm not studying English, right? Okay, so for the second year we have a 1.4% interest. So all we need to do is, if it's a 1.4% interest, that means in total, if we add 100%, we have 101.4% interest rate. Not interest rate, 101.4% interest, okay? 101.4% percentage change. Jesus Christ. The 100% is the original value. Okay? So, in the second year, the value is going to change by, we take the original amount and we just times it by 101.4%. Yeah, okay, Hannah, thanks. Thanks, I appreciate it. I get it. I don't have many people joining. 12,336 times 101.4%. By the way, don't forget, this percentage button, I don't see a lot of teachers telling people about it, but it does the whole thing for you. So that's £12,508.70p. Okay. Do you think paper 1 will have a difficult last question? Oh, yeah, of course. Well, actually, if you're Edexcel, they do this weird thing where the last question's easy, but the second last question's really hard. But yeah. That's best how do you know. Thank you, some random organism on Earth. I appreciate it. Tragic and unjust. Okay, now I like you again. Thank you. So, Iobel, that's a good question. You would round to 2 decimal places. You wouldn't always round up. Unfortunately, when it comes to money, banks won't round up for you. So no, rounding down is completely fine. Just round to the nearest 2 decimal places. Can you use percentage button without another symbol? Yeah. No, you have to use the times. Like that. You have to use the times. You've been scammed? Exactly. When I go through my... so I have one coming out tomorrow, which is AQA, and I've got one coming out on Sunday. Yeah. Next question. Natasha pays £13,995. Lauren pays 14. Cool. Okay. Oh, depreciation. Perfect. This is not too bad. So start with Natasha, because she was first. So, depreciation is the exact opposite of compound interest. So instead of gaining value each year, this is going to depreciate each year. So, to work out the percentage, we take 100% and we minus the rate of depreciation. So for Natasha, that's 12. So that's 88%. So what that means is it's getting 88% of its original value every single year. Okay? Honestly, Rayhan, I've never bought predicted papers, and you can kind of find them online, cheeky, but it's up to you, really. I don't know who's actually accurate or not. Okay. And the actual equation for compound interest and depreciation is identical. You take the original value, times it by your percentage. You can put it in brackets if you like. And you put it to the power of the number of years. Okay? So, 13,995 multiplied by 88%. Power of 3. I put it in brackets just because I'm weird. And that's what you get. Exactly, SK. It's not plus. It's not plus. Yeah, depreciation, you subtract the rate of depreciation from 100% and that's your percentage. Okay? With interest, you add your interest rate to 100% and that's your percentage. That's the only thing that changes. And then we have Lauren. Her depreciation is 13%. 1.88 won't work. You have to use 0.88. 1.88 means the value's getting bigger. So, God, 100%, again, minus the depreciation, which is 13%, gives me 87%. And again, her value of the car was 14,495, so we're going to do 14,495 multiplied by 87% to the power of 3. Which is 9545 exactly. Well. And to by the way, with money, I always put the 2 decimal places. Always. Just to show that I've rounded properly. I haven't done any paper 2 revision for stuff like science, history, geography and other stuff. I don't know. Actually, you know what? I get that. I can relate to that. Some random organism on Earth. Can I call you like SRUI? I don't know, I'm trying to acronym. Anyways. Because it's later on in the exam series, right? And it really depends. I will say that's what I did, but I'm not saying that what I did is the best way to do it. I would try and at least do a little bit of paper 2 now. Can you give us tips what actually say? Yeah, I wish. Thanks, that's so easy. Yeah, I hope so. What days do I go live? At the moment, only Tuesdays at 6 PM. I used to have an A-level maths live stream on Thursdays at 6 PM, but I stopped doing it because not many people came. Should I leave paper 2 and 3 maths revision? So again, with maths, don't forget, all topics can come up in all papers. So there's not really a paper 2 revision, paper 3 revision, technically. Exactly, Sanch is right. What's the difference between this and the last question? Why couldn't you make the equation? So ego, I could have, yeah. The reason why I didn't is because it's only for 1 year, right? So 1 year and then it changes for the second year, and it's only, the duration is only 1 year, right? So there's no point in doing this full equation to the power of something. Instead, I just do this. This is the equation, but all I've done is I haven't put the brackets to the power of 1 because there's no point, right? So that's why I didn't do it. I hope that's satisfactory. Okay. Okay. If that's all, then next week I have like a mock paper that was sent in, and I also have some of these CIE questions. Well, not CIE, sorry. They're like hard GCSE questions. There's like 1 billion of them. Some of them are pretty tricky. They're from Cambridge, so of course they're hard. And then also this mock paper, so we can do kind of any of these. But I think we'll leave it there for today. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Feel free to submit questions in, and yes, again, join the Discord for that, okay? Where can I find the question you said you did? Oh, I am going to do a last minute revision on the 14th, yeah. So I will do a live stream at 6 PM on the 14th as well. Ah, Rayhan, I recorded that today. So that's coming out this week, okay? How do you submit a question? Use my email address, ideally. Or you can save it for the next live stream, if that makes sense. And Ma, I'm just going to find that video quickly, if you want to stick around. It was in one of the live lessons. I'm actually goated. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But yeah, have a good evening. And yeah, I will do a last minute revision session and etc. I'll announce details a bit later. But yeah. Thank you, Rayhan. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah. See you guys later.